Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome, fellow dregs of society. Welcome, all you rock dwellers. Once again, you're always welcome here at the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. And joining me today, as she does 2 or 3 times a week, is the patriot from the battle-born state, the silver state of Nevada. That is Sharron Angle. Sharron, welcome back to Conservative Commandos.
Thanks, Rick. It's always great to be here. As you said, it's always great. I'm always looking for what's in the news. And of course, being so close to California, they're always newsworthy, always good for a few news blinks here. But I guess the sad part is they are so anti-Second Amendment over there. They've now passed a new law. Look out, other states, because what happens in California doesn't stay in California, sadly.
Nope.
They have passed a new law that makes you have to have a background check in order to buy ammunition now. And so that background check takes place every time you do buy ammunition. And that law went into effect July 1st. So up until July 1st, they were having a run on their sporting goods stores over there. Everybody's stocking up on ammunition before that law went into effect. And now that it has gone into effect, they've had a reverse effect, I guess, on the citizenry. They were thinking, oh, well, we'll stop these guys from buying ammunition. No, they didn't stop it. What they did was these fellas and ladies that want to buy ammunition, they're just stocking up more. They don't want to go in and pay that $19 fee for their background check, and it's 10 minutes every time they go in. So what they're doing is buying a boatload of it right when they go in and stocking up on it. So actually, they're really selling more ammunition rather than less ammunition.
Well, Sharron, there's always ways around the laws. And this new background check when you buy ammunition, as you say, there is a $19 fee. So, of course, people are going to buy all they can. And I wouldn't be surprised if one way around this law is people start clubs and groups, and one person goes in for that club and group and buys for all the members. Buys whatever ammunition they need. This way they only need one background check, one $19 fee, and also they're going to be coming across the border to states like yours, Nevada.
Well, we have 6 gun shows a year, if you can believe it. Every 2 months we have the big gun show. And what the people there are mostly Californians coming across the line to buy ammunition and also to buy firearms. So they really haven't done themselves a favor over there in California. They're not stopping anything. They're just pushing people to go a little bit farther. And, Nevada isn't that far from Sacramento. We're an 80-minute ride. That's all. Just, come on over. In an hour you can be here, buy all you want, and go home. So that's what they're doing. You're exactly right. It just makes people more, more creative when it comes to the law.
Yep. Well, Sharron, I've got some sad news for you and other followers here on the Conservative Commandos radio show. One of our dear friends is in trouble. And Democratic polls show that voters think that Ocasio-Cortez is not so great. Democratic polls in swing districts released on Sunday showed that socialist Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is extremely unpopular, and she and people like Ilhan Omar might actually cost the Democrat Party the presidency and the House in 2020. Ocasio-Cortez was recognized by 74% of the voters in the poll. Only 22% had a favorable view. And that Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota, another member of the squad, was recognized by 53% of the voters. And only 9%, that's no typo, 9% had a favorable view. Socialism was viewed favorably by 18% of the voters and unfavorably by 69%. 69%. And this is not just a national poll, Sharron. It also strikes in AOC's home district. She has more than a 2-to-1 ratio of unfavorable, and this is in her home district, 51% unfavorable to just 21% favorable. They do not trust her. Only 10.7% thought she had their best interest in mind, and this comes on the heels of squashing the Amazon deal. They don't want her. 33% already are ready to vote against her. Only 13% would vote for her. And this is a Quinnipiac poll. And so our dear friend AOC is in trouble in her own district, Sharron Engel. I would hate to see her go.
Well, and it looks like she doesn't have any time to do any kind of rehabilitation of that. If over half the people know who she is and they're informed enough that they have an opinion, and that opinion's negative, she's up in 2020. There's really not much of a chance that she can make amends to the voters. I think we've seen her, and we're going to have to make hay while the sun shines. She's not going to be around very long, it doesn't seem to me.
Well, I would miss her. I'd really miss her. I also think,
know you would.
Always gives us something to talk about. She's in this little dust-up with Nancy Pelosi. I happen to think that Nancy Pelosi is going to do everything that Nancy can to make sure that there's another Democrat running for that seat. So,
well, she has to, because and even in Ilhan Omar's district, she's going to have to do that too, because those numbers that you're citing, if they continue, a Republican could win that district if there is no Democrat challenger in the primary. And Democrats hate primaries; they don't like to run against their folks. But if it's that bad, we're going to see some really interesting infighting right there in the Democrat Party in 2020.
Mm-hmm. Well, Sharron, let's take a break here, and I know we got a lot more to talk about in the second segment here, and we've got some terrific guests that we do want to talk about. And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. Today's show, like all our shows, is being brought to you by the First Amendment and protected by the Second. Sharron and I will be right back.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving, and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002. Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Once again, we want to thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host today is Sharron Engel. And, you know, the hallmark of the Conservative Commandos radio show is our terrific guests. If you have someone who you would like us to interview or an article that you found that's of interest to you that you would like us to report on, or if you yourself would like to be a guest here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, you can contact me at rick@conservativecommandosradioshow.com. That's rick@conservativecommandosradioshow.com. I know it's long, but it's easy. rick@conservativecommandosradioshow.com. And Sharron, speaking of guests, we got three great guests who are going to join us today.
Yes, we do. Our first guest is Stephen Beale, who is a freelance writer, reporter based in Providence, Rhode Island. He's raised an evangelical Protestant, and he's a convert to Catholicism. He is a former news editor at golocalprov.com and was a correspondent for the New Hampshire Union Leader, where he covered the 2008 presidential primary. He has appeared on Fox News, C-SPAN, and Today Show, and his writing has been published in the Washington Times, Providence Journal, and the National Catholic Register. We've asked him on to talk about a couple of articles that he's written. Live Action Plans Response to Social Media Suppression of Pro-Lifers. Pinterest recently followed Twitter and YouTube in restricting access to their platform. And then the other article that he's written along those same lines, which is interesting, is about a whistleblower that has revealed, and I guess that's all you can say about that. He has revealed their bias. So we'll talk to him about both of those articles. Our second guest is our friend Congressman Bob Barr, who represented Georgia's 7th District in the House of Representatives from 1995 to 2003. He now practices law in Atlanta, Georgia, and is chairman of Liberty Guard, a nonprofit pro-liberty organization. He also heads the Law Enforcement Education Foundation and a consulting firm, Liberty Strategies. Bob's written an article, Professional Whiners have a new hero du jour in Megan Rapinoe, and we want to get his take on what should be done about truly anti-American athletes who come under our flag and probably under a lot of government subsidy, if truth were known about it. We're supporting their efforts in many cases, and they have absolutely no respect for their country. Our final guest is Andrew Harrod, who is a Campus Watch Fellow, freelance researcher, and a writer who holds a PhD from the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy and a JD from George Washington University Law School. He is a fellow with the Lawfare Project, and he's written an article, Nora Erekat recounts her anxiety over Israel's existence. Really a sad commentary on anti-Semitism and how it is tolerated in our universities, as well as our Congress. I guess we have to say that, since we've been talking about Ilhan Omar, and she is definitely an anti-Semite in her comments and just the way that she projects herself. Possibly that's why she's so low in the polling.
Probably, among other things too. So indeed, we do have three great guests that are joining us once again on the Conservative Commandos radio show. Well, Sharron, we've talked in the first segment about Second Amendment issues. You mentioned in California that they now have a $19 surcharge for background checks on anybody that is purchasing ammunition. These First or Second Amendment laws are supposed to hurt the conservative side of things, but Sharron, seems to me, whenever we do hear of shootings and mass shootings and violence, it's not coming from the right, it's coming from the left. Last weekend in Chicago, they had almost 90 shootings, accounting for the deaths of 11 people in Chicago. Now, there you got Chicago, that has some of the strictest gun control laws in the country. And I say once again, we do not have a gun control problem. We do not have a gun violence problem in America. We have a criminal violence problem in America. There was a shooting. There was a shooting at an ICE detention center in Tacoma, Washington. Willem von Spunsen, 69, of Washington, attacked an ICE detention center in Tacoma, Washington, earlier this week with incendiary devices while armed with a rifle. He was killed in a shootout with police. The police fatally shot the man who was attacking the immigration detention center on Saturday morning. The man, who was armed with a rifle, was throwing unspecified incendiary devices at the Northwest Detention Center, according to a police spokesman. And one car was fully engulfed in flames. Well, we come to find out some more information about this guy. This guy, Van Sprunson, was arrested during a protest at the same Tacoma detention facility in June 2018, according to court documents. Court documents show that he was accused at lunging at a police officer who was trying to arrest a 17-year-old protester. Van Sprunson was accused of wrapping his arms around the officer's neck and shoulders. Officers found a collapsible baton and a knife in his possession when he was handcuffed. Now, this is the kicker of this whole thing. This guy wrote, "I am Antifa. I stand with comrades from around the world. Comrades who understand that freedom means real freedom for all." Another leftist, Sharron Engel, another violent attack coming from a leftist.
Well, and that seems to be the only direction that we are getting these violent attacks from. We don't see people who claim a conservative bend doing these kinds of attacks. It's generally from the left that they are coming, they're attacking, and they attack their own. The fellow that attacked Gabrielle Giffords was a leftist. It's just, it's part of that whole left program, I guess, is they're not only are they ignorant of Americanism, but they're violent in their ignorance. So it's a sad situation. I was looking too through my stuff and found that, well, in fact, I wasn't even looking. I was preempted on my news program by a blackout in New York City, right? And now Chuck Schumer is calling for a federal investigation of the blackout. And I'm thinking, you know what? I suffered a blackout about a month ago. And in fact, because of that blackout, I wasn't able to do the show. We were blacked out here in my town for about 2 hours. But I never saw a federal investigation of that, nor anybody's investigation. I don't even know to this day what caused it. They just said, oh, oops, you guys are without electricity, so sorry.
Well, I think a blackout in Reno is probably different than a blackout in New York City. Every time you hear about a blackout in New York City, it does make huge news, but an investigation, you call up the electric company and say, hey, what happened here? What happened here? But apparently there was like 47,000 households that were blacked out. Gosh knows why, but I don't know. Does everything need to be investigating? Somebody threw the wrong switch or there was a fire.
Well,
I don't know.
It just goes to show me that New Yorkers don't feel safe in their city. If you got to have the lights on, you're not safe. And if there's a blackout and everybody freaks out and decides they need an investigation, because we can't have a city of this magnitude in any kind of darkness. My goodness, Rick, that's a scary place to be. I'm not sure that I'd want to live there. I'm not sure why any American would want to live in a place where you can't where you can't turn the lights out. Right? What happens when you go to bed at night? Do you have to sleep with the light on there too to keep those guys away? I don't know.
Yeah, well, you do. There are some places in New York City that are very, very dangerous to walk around even in broad daylight. But Sharron, I'll tell you where there should be an investigation. We do need an investigation. Former President Bill Clinton tried to push back on reporting about his trips he took with Jeffrey Epstein, where the Secret Service was not listed on the flight manifest, but failed to address why records show he took 6 separate trips on the, quote, Lolita Express. Clinton's press secretary said Monday that Clinton traveled 4 times in total with the alleged child sex trafficker and supporters of the foundation and his Secret Service detail traveled on every leg of every trip. Well, the number of times Bill Clinton apparently went to Jeffrey Epstein's island on Jeffrey's private plane vary anywhere from 4 to 26. There may have been times when Bill Clinton without his Secret Service team around him. Now, I don't know if there's a federal law that requires a former president like Bill Clinton to be unaccompanied, but something is fishy here, Sharron Engel. Something is very fishy. They want to tag this Jeffrey Epstein onto President Donald Trump. Donald Trump banned this guy from Mar-a-Lago. Mar-a-Lago, thank you. That's for sure. But apparently, Bill Clinton and Jeffrey were very good friends. There should be an investigation there, even if he only went 4 times. What did Bill Clinton do on this sex island? Was he involved? Just like Jeffrey Epstein or Epstein, was Bill Clinton involved in with underage women and the sex trafficking?
Well,
and the prostitution.
Certainly, when they investigate other types of those kinds of crimes, sexual crimes, pornography rings. They once they find one, they investigate all of their contacts because they know that they're groups and it seems like this Epstein had pornography as well on these underage girls that he was taking advantage of. And so when you're talking about a ring like that, anybody who's close to that ring gets investigated, and that Bill Clinton is going to get immunity from an investigation just smacks more of the Monica Lewinsky thing.
Have you heard anything about some sort of an immunity of this? I don't think there should be any immunity for Bill Clinton, or even if Donald Trump himself was involved. I don't think anyone should receive any sort of immunity.
Well, I don't think so either, but it seems like that's what we're watching now, a move toward that by Clinton himself. He's trying to get himself out of that investigation, which means some kind of immunity.
Hey, you know what? If anybody should get immunity, it should be Jeffrey Epstein or Epstein. And the immunity deal is, what can you tell us about politicians who you entertained at your island, who entertained them? What was the extent of the invitation? Maybe he should get a deal. Well, Sharron, we do need to take a break and get our first guest on. You are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. On the other side, we're going to be joined by Stephen Beale, and he's written a couple of great articles, including Live Action Plans, Response to Social Media Suppression of Pro-Lifers. Don't go away. Sharron and I will be right back with our guests.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. My co-host today is Sharron Engel. And for rebroadcast of our show, as you probably know, hope you know, check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. Like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. And with that, Sharron, our first guest of the day is with us. The honor of the introduction is yours.
It is an honor and a pleasure for me to introduce Stephen Beale, who is a freelance writer and reporter based in Providence, Rhode Island. Raised an evangelical Protestant, he is a convert to Catholicism. He's a former news editor at golocalprov.com and was a correspondent for the New Hampshire Union Leader, where he covered the 2008 presidential primary. He's appeared on Fox News, C-SPAN, and the Today Show, and his writing has been published in the Washington Times, Providence Journal, and the National Catholic Register, and on MSNBC.com. Stephen, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. And we've asked you to come on and talk about a couple of articles that you wrote. One is about live action plans, response to social media suppression of pro-lifers. And the other is the inside story of the whistleblower who exposed Pinterest bias, and they're related because it seems that in both of these articles we're going to get to talk about live action. So let's go first to live action. Talk a little bit to our audience about what live action is.
Live action, there are many pro-life groups out there. There's National Right to Life. There's the Susan B. Anthony list. Live action's niche, if you will, is that they're primarily an online organization. It's really about getting the message out to people who use social media, who are more comfortable using the internet, using their phones to read the news. And it's also geared, I think, towards a little bit of a younger audience. The founder is about 30, so she's fairly young, and so that's kind of their target audience. It's less geared towards passing new laws or advocating for laws, and more just about educating people and trying to win more people over to the pro-life message.
Well, both of your articles mention this fact that live actions content has been put on a pornography list. How does that happen?
Well, it's very interesting. So live action had been running into trouble in a number of platforms, as my article goes into a little bit. And again, this is on the National Catholic Register website that I contribute to. So they had issues with Twitter in advertising there. They had issues with YouTube. They'd had some problems with Facebook. Facebook denies that there was any policy of restricting their ads or their posts. But things really kind of got out of control with Pinterest. And my story reports on how Pinterest took the step of putting their content on this list that includes a number of pornography sites. And the reason they're on that list is used to block content. And the people at Pinterest have decided that their content needs to be blocked in the same way that foreign websites need to be blocked. It needs that kind of radical exclusion from their platform. Now, what's interesting is that live action is not the only non-porn site to be on that list. There are some conservative sites or right-leaning sites, and two of them are ZeroHedge.com and PJ Media. So those sites have also been kind of lumped in with the porn block list. So it's obviously more than just porn, but it's mostly just porn. I have not seen the list, but I've seen screen grabs of that list that show live action is included in it.
Well, I think it's pretty interesting. We had a little encounter with Facebook not so long ago, and in trying to run this thing down, they said, well, it was accidental. It was accidental. How accidental is this really? Because this just sounds too easy for them to claim it's accidental and maybe avoid a lawsuit. Is that really what they're up to?
Well, I mean, that's exactly what happened with Live Action, is that they had some issues with their posts, and they went to Facebook and they were told, oh, no, it's our error. But given everything else that has gone on, Live Action suspects that there's more at play. Now, with a big company like Facebook, I mean, certainly there is the possibility of them committing errors. I think there was recently an issue where all photos were accidentally censored for a few hours one day. I think that was within the past few weeks. And that wasn't directed at anybody, it's just all users. So it's certainly possible that a big company like that could make those errors, but you have to weigh that against the other factors.
You're really giving them the benefit of the doubt, Stephen. We here at Conservative Commandos radio show, after 3 weeks of haggling with them and trying to figure out why we were blocked, and then coming up with this, what we felt was a very lame excuse. Well, it was an accident. We really didn't mean to block you. You're being very kind when you say that, well, it could have been an accident. So talk about this. What kind of success will Live Action have, do you think, with a lawsuit? They're weighing that idea, and we've always felt that maybe lawsuits were cost prohibitive. You know, it costs so much to sue someone, and then the outcome is not determined. Of course, you're not sure that you can win even after you spend all that money.
Well, it's an interesting question. I think in terms of the feasibility of it, Live Action, I do not actually know the details of their budget, but I know that they have quite a big reach. I think it was 3 million followers online. So that would be pretty easy to raise money for a lawsuit. And I think there are people out there, there are groups, conservative groups that would take on something like this, that do their own fundraising. The Alliance Defending Freedom is one that comes to mind, and there's probably a few others. So I don't think that's really an obstacle. I think the more interesting question is, how successful would they be? And I think we're a little bit into uncharted waters here. I think you'd have to look for precedent. And I don't think there is a specific precedent for this kind of a situation.
Well, I know there's many conservative groups that have been complaining about this kind of censorship, and I'm wondering just what the lawsuit will say. Is it a First Amendment lawsuit, or how are they going to press forward? Because we've thought they were being very not just censoring, but bigoted in the way that they are dealing with conservatives.
So that's interesting. So what would the lawsuit look like? I don't think it would succeed really on First Amendment grounds. My interview with Lila Rose, who's the founder and president of Live Action, she talked about focusing on terms of use violations. So, and I go into this a little bit in my article. Twitter goes into great detail about what it'll allow for its advertising. And it talks about pornographic content, which Live Action can make a very easy case that their content is not pornographic. They also have categories for objectionable content. And again, if you look at the details, what's included in that, I think Live Action has a very good case that they don't meet any of those standards. So I think that's really where their lawsuit would go, and that'd be very interesting to see how it would play out.
Well, we're interested, of course, because, I think and many other conservative groups are interested, because we've had it pretty much up to our eyebrows with this bunch. We've been blocked off and on over the last 2 or 3 years from Facebook. And it seems that when we go to your second article, that even if you are advertising with them, that doesn't necessarily mean that your posts are going to get boosted. This whistleblower here talks about unboosting. I never heard of such a thing, but I guess if you can boost, you can unboost.
Well, sure. So the Live Action has run into a few different issues. So the Pinterest issue is Live Action has been placed on the foreign block list, and then their account was completely removed. So if that happens, you obviously are precluded from advertising. And then with Twitter and YouTube, they've run into issues where they can use those platforms, but they can't advertise. So there it's less of a free speech issue and more of an advertising issue, which is still, I think, related to freedom of speech, but it's just a little different. So Twitter has blocked both Lila Rose and Live Action from promoting their tweets. And YouTube, they're prohibited from advertising their videos and also from running ads on their videos to make money.
Well, we kind of see all of these groups as one, but they are, I guess, separate entities. So if you're going after a lawsuit, you're going to have to sue a whole bunch of people. We've got to go to a break right now. We're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. And now you can watch our TV show on the AUN TV network in Northern California. We'll be right back with our co-host, Rick Trader. I'm Sharron Engel, and our guest, Stephen Beale, talking about censorship and social media.
I saw voter fraud with my own eyes. Now, people say, why didn't you report it to the authorities? Well, they were the ones doing it.
The integrity of one man, one vote doesn't apply at the Texas state legislature. There is no way to know if your representatives are voting for themselves.
Department, a Republican, reaches back to vote for Democrat Oliveira. Democrat Matt Reynolds votes for Republican England.
2 out of 3 voters nationwide believe that voter fraud is a serious problem in the U.S. today.
The process is rigged.
Both sides of the aisle are guilty.
Florida now has to tell the Department of Justice whether the state will comply with DOJ's demand to stop purging thousands of people from its voter rolls.
We have the sloppiest election system of any industrialized democracy.
Philadelphia flagged 50,000 duplicate registrations, so just think how many more slipped through.
It's almost impossible to detect. How do you get caught? You only get caught if you confess.
Election corruption is deeply embedded in America. Quote, election fraud is a crime that usually pays, unquote, writes Tracy Campbell in his book, Deliver the Vote, A History of Election Fraud, an American political tradition from 1742 to 2004. In 1742, the first Prime Minister of Britain in the American colonies, Robert Walpole, was forced to resign.
We have a right not to have our vote canceled out by someone who shouldn't be voting, someone who's an illegal alien, someone who's a felon not eligible to vote, someone who doesn't exist. If they vote, they cancel your vote out as much as if you're prevented from voting.
If this is going to be fixed, it's going to have to be a citizen effort. It comes down to, it's the same old question, if not now, when? If not us, then who?
This is huge. This is about the democracy and the principles of the United States of America. People say, but why you? Why you? Why? Well, why not? And if it starts with a fireman, if it starts with a sanitation worker, if it starts with a teacher or a nurse or a caretaker of the elderly, then so be it. It's got to start somewhere. But it's time we come together and fix this problem once and for all.
There is no serious person out there who would suggest somehow that you could even rig America's elections.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
Serious allegations of voter fraud. The claims raising questions about the
Commerce Secretary Ron Brown and 32 others were on a military plane that crashed today in a violent storm. There are no known survivors at this time.
The U.S. Army was funded by the evil entity.
I saw voter fraud with my own eyes.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
The process is rigged.
People die and fall for the right time. It's too brutal.
So it's incredibly important now that we draw a line and say,
And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host today is Sharron Engel. Want to give a shout out to the folks who listen to us on stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, and Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Long Beach, and now in Arlington, Virginia, and in Washington, D.C. We're pleased to have Stephen Beale with us today. He's a freelance writer and reporter from the great state of Rhode Island. And Stephen has written a couple of great articles about free speech and social media suppression. Stephen, thank you for holding through that break. We appreciate your time.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Stephen, again, a couple of great articles that you have, and they're appearing in the National Catholic Register. Is that correct?
That's right. Readers can go and read them online for free at ncregister.com if they are not already subscribers.
Well, your articles, Live Action has run into problems with advertising on Facebook as well as with Pinterest, and the social media giant claimed that the issues were accidental. I know you and Sharron talked a little bit about our being banned, and when I say our, I mean the Conservative Commandos radio show website was banned on Facebook. Anytime you put a link on Facebook that took you back to our website, it was blocked. And that's what they told us. Oh, sorry, it was an accident. We had you confused with somebody else. So it seems like this is quite an interesting excuse that they are using. But as you pointed out in your article, that these social media giants are not even having a problem with just Live Action and the Conservative Commandos, but also in your article you point out that they didn't like something that Mother Teresa had written. Tell us about that.
Yes, that is an interesting case, and that illustrates that this is really, I think, targeted towards social conservatives. It's not just an issue with Live Action. And the article goes into detail on this, but as I recall, it was a post, it was a image on Twitter, and it was obviously an image of Mother Teresa, and who can object to that. And then it was a quotation,
Facebook
a pro-life.
For one.
It was a quotation, a pro-life quotation, and I believe, if I'm recalling correctly, it was the Susan B. Anthony list that put this out, and it was censored. And that's Ted Cruz brought that up, I believe, in a congressional hearing, asking who could object to this. I mean, certainly you can disagree with it if you're pro-choice, but objecting to it is a whole different thing. So that just shows how, I think, extreme this has gotten. This kind of, you can call it censorship. We can also call it suppression of pro-life content.
Well, Stephen Beale, you're a freelance writer and author, and you've appeared in many places. What's your feelings about that these media giants are infringing upon First Amendment rights? I mean, these organizations are not government entities, and so therefore they are private enterprises. Do they have the right to put up whatever they want to and stop whatever they don't like?
Well, it's an interesting question, and the article does get into this a little bit. As you pointed out, they are not government entities. It's not literally a public square in the same way that 17th century New England town, you could go out into the public square and say whatever you wanted in theory. But they do kind of function as a virtual public square, and I think that the First Amendment was intentionally aimed at allowing people to speak out on platforms like this. But we do have to follow the letter of the Constitution as well, and since it is directed at government agencies, I think it'd be difficult to apply it to companies like Twitter and Facebook. I think where you have more of a case is that these companies have been claiming just to maintain platforms, and for government regulatory purposes, they're not held accountable for the content they publish. But if they start to act more like publishers instead of platforms, they may lose some of the regulatory freedoms that they now have. And so I think that we need to look at reform and maybe changes in regulation, or how the regulations that exist are already applied. Maybe that's where we need to focus our efforts. And again, my article goes into this a little bit.
And also in your article, you talk about it appears that the outcry among social conservatives has reached the White House. Last week, they had an action conference at the White House. The White House hosted a social media summit. Do you think that these social media giants are putting themselves in the path of the federal government? You know, the federal government has taken action on monopolies, and you could consider some of these media giants monopolies because there aren't really very strong alternatives out there. What's your thought on that, Stephen Beale?
I think so. I think they are making themselves out to be a target for that kind of action. I think you can make a case. Again, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't cite chapter and verse on this, but I think you can make a case that they operate like monopolies, especially Facebook and Twitter. And I think you could see some kind of government action against them, some kind of antitrust lawsuit. You know, we've seen that in the late 1990s, US v. Microsoft. So you could see something like that again. I think it depends upon a number of factors and how much congressional support there would be for that. I think you could see potentially an alliance maybe between some elements on the right and some elements on the left. There has been discussion, I believe, Elizabeth Warren, for one, I think there's been discussion about regulating these larger companies. So you may find some common ground on the left and the right side of this issue.
You have another very interesting article posted up on National Catholic Register, the inside story of the whistleblower who exposed Pinterest bias, fellow by name of Eric Cochran. Could you tell us about Eric?
Well, he has a very interesting story. As I understand it, he was a regular software engineer at Pinterest, and he noticed, he'd been there for about 2 years, he noticed they started to have these regular meetings talking about regulating misinformation and getting rid of conspiracy theories. And initially he thought, well, this is a good thing. You know, we kind of keep our site free of the dark fringes of the internet. But then he noticed that they were talking about it just a little too much. And he started looking into it a little bit. He found something called sensitive terms list, and he started looking at this, and I was very surprised to see things like Christian Easter and Bible verses kind of on this list of sensitive terms, which to him seemed abnormal. Of course, he had pornographic terms and all those things on it as well, which you would expect. So that sent up a red flag. He also was on a internal company message board and saw this discussion about live action being put on this porn block list. And that's when he saw these things, he said, the public deserves to know this. That's when he went to a website called Project Veritas and provided them with the information exposing Pinterest. It's a very interesting story. I encourage you to have the whole story on the register as well.
Well, there's a cause for being a whistleblower, especially a whistleblower at Pinterest. Stephen, tell us what happened to Eric, if you don't mind.
Well, oh, sure, of course. Well, like all whistleblowers, you know, he put his livelihood at risk, and soon after the story was published, he showed up to work one day and found out that he was locked out of all his accounts in the company. A bunch of security guards showed up. He had to hand in his badge and laptop, and he was promptly escorted out of the building. And he, you know, he understands why Pinterest did that. You know, any company would take similar action. Obviously, he believes he was in the right for what he did as well. You know, that was the right thing to expose the company.
Well, I think what Eric Cochran did was the right thing, and I also think what Stephen Beale is the right thing too, to let the rest of us know about what's going on in the, let's call it the dark secret of the internet. Stephen Beale, we want to thank you so much for joining us on the Conservative Commandos radio show. Please tell our audience how they could read your articles and follow what else you do.
Oh, thank you. Yes, they can visit ncregister.com. That stands for National Catholic Register. You should be able to find my articles there. You can follow me on Twitter at Beale News. That's BealeNews. Beale News.
Stephen, what are you working on now? What's coming out next?
Well, I can't probably disclose that right now, but I'm waiting to work on some new pieces. I cover a lot of church news. I cover a lot of issues in higher education for the Register, and so there are a lot of different topics related to the church. But probably for your audience, I think there would be a lot of interest in the articles I do on higher education and a lot of these Catholic schools they're starting to try to imitate secular schools and kind of leaving their fidelity to church teachings. So that's an issue that's an ongoing one that I've been covering.
That kind of makes me cringe because I kind of see the church schools as a real alternative to the government schools. But again, Stephen Beale, we want to thank you so much for joining us here on the Conservative Commandos radio show. Take care. God bless.
Thank you.
And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host today is Sharron Engel. Yes, that's Sharron Engel. And on the other side, we're going to be speaking with former Congressman Bob Barr. He has a very interesting article that's posted on townhall.com. Professional whiners have a new hero in Megan Rapinoe. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you very much. Hope you got what you needed.
Sure did. Do me a favor, Stephen. I'm going to send you my email address so we can get your picture.
Okay.
But if you put out a kind of like post list of things that you write, we're always looking to have interesting guests on our show.
Okay.
Send us links to your articles, please.
Thank you very much. I will keep that in mind.
You bet. Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Left the conversation. Okay, let me try to get Bob Barr. Man, my eyes are so bad.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The secret war is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
And once again, thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. For rebroadcasts of our shows, check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. You'll find our radio show there, our TV show there, a lot of terrific articles and a lot of great information. And with that, Sharron, our next guest is with us. The honor of the introduction, once again, is all yours.
Well, it is an honor and a privilege for me to introduce Bob Barr, who represented Georgia's 7th District in the House of Representatives from 1995 to 2003. He now practices law in Atlanta, Georgia, and is chairman of Liberty Guard, a nonprofit pro-liberty organization. He also heads the Law Enforcement Education Foundation and a consulting firm, Liberty Strategies. Congressman Barr, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
It's great to be with you all again. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, it's great to have you. And you've written an article. Professional whiners have a new hero du jour in Megan Rapinoe. First, let's go into who Megan Rapinoe is and what she's whining about these days, Congressman.
Well, she's apparently a very good soccer player, and I certainly don't take that away from her. She and her colleagues on the women's soccer team that just won the World Cup are tremendous athletes. But what I like to see athletes do is play athletics and do it in a professional manner. What I don't like to see, and this goes back, I suppose, a generation to the first person that I remember who really became a professional whiner in the sports arena was John McEnroe, a tennis player. And he sort of made it his trademark to whine and shout and use profanity and so forth. But Megan Rapinoe has used her forum as a professional soccer player on behalf of the United States soccer team to use profanity, to display political animus, to use that forum for all manner of criticizing the United States. And the dumbest thing that she has done, I suppose there are others, but the dumbest thing that I've seen her do is to refuse an invitation in advance to visit with the President of the United States. I mean, it seems to me that it's an honor to visit with the president, but even if one doesn't consider it an honor, at least take the opportunity to make your viewpoint known to the president, not to use profanity and discount that possibility. So she's more interested simply in not so much even the message as the delivery of the message, to whine, use profanity, and make herself the center of attention rather than what she actually does with her teammates.
Well, I thought it was a huge assumption and presumption that she would even be invited to the White House. So, to make that declaration in advance kind of is a huge leap, I guess, because he's been denying sports teams an invitation here lately. He's kind of given up on the left in many ways, and she is definitely a leftist. I was reading another article that said that her big thing is now that women soccer players don't get paid as much as men, and she says that the equal pay solution is to ask big corporations just to write a check. That just seems like the left solution to everything. Get the corporations to pay. What do you think about that idea that women soccer players don't get equal opportunity or equal rights?
Well, one of the hypocrisies in what you just recounted is the fact that a lot of these leftists, they hate corporations. They constantly criticize capitalists and greedy corporations, but they sure do want their money. So that's part of the hypocrisy here. the manner in which they go after corporations really makes no sense whatsoever, because they don't want the market to dictate how much money they make. Men's soccer, they don't make, I guess, nearly as much as professional football players in our country, or professional basketball or baseball players. All of them, I think, were overpaid, but that's irrelevant. If the market bears their salaries, then fine. It's my understanding, though, with regard to women's soccer, that was the result of a contract between the soccer association and the women's soccer team. So it seems to me that Meghan's real beef is with the people that represent her, because they didn't strike a good enough deal, not with corporations or not with America generally.
Well, it's just, as you say, so typically left. And it's interesting, you go on in your article to name a few more of these typically left. I am so embarrassed to say that Colin Kaepernick was a Nevadan before he went on his a tirade, I guess, against America. And you say that they could take a leaf from Kim Kardashian's book, which I thought that was an interesting thing, that you would come to Kim Kardashian and say, yep, she's got this one right. Talk about that.
Well, many of the Kardashian women are apparently very good business people. I've never watched their show. It just doesn't appeal to me, but apparently they're very good business people. And Kim Kardashian, she apparently knows a lot more about how to get things done for those things in which she believes than Megan Rapinoe does. Kim Kardashian has made a point over the last several years of working for criminal justice reform. She has been pressing that issue consistently with political people, and actually got an audience with the President of the United States, which had an impact. The President, despite what many of his critics think, actually does listen to people when they present viewpoints, even those with which he may disagree, and he may wind up agreeing with them. You know, that's the stupidity of what people like Megan Rapinoe are doing. They're passing up opportunities to actually accomplish what it is that they say they want.
Well, and I think that's a fitting line in your article. It says, in the end, she and others like her really don't care. To them, the goal is the delivery of the message, not the results. So they just want to hear their heads rattle. Is that what you're saying?
They love the stage. Whether it's getting a ticker tape parade by de Blasio in New York, or on some sports thing I saw, where she went on, Megan did, and talked about how unfair it is in soccer and so forth, which is sort of ironic that here she is getting this tremendous forum to do things, and all she can do is whine.
Whine. Well, and what bigger forum is there than to be invited to the White House? Doesn't every news carrier in the nation cover the White House?
Absolutely. I mean, there is a tremendous forum if, in fact, she really cared about accomplishing something. But again, I don't think they really care. They care about themselves and just getting into the limelight, it seems.
Well, and she gave up a huge opportunity to be in the limelight, I would think, by saying in advance that she wouldn't accept a non-existent invitation. I've never heard that Trump was even considering inviting her. Did you?
No, the first I heard about it was her refusing the non-existent invite. But I expect that if she and her teammates had presented themselves professionally and respectfully and requested a meeting, they might very well have gotten it, and it would have been a tremendous opportunity for her to make her case and having a few minutes with the President of the United States, perhaps.
Well, I was interested in your bio when I read it. It says that you're the chairman of Liberty Guard, a non-profit pro-liberty organization. Now, Liberty Guard, it would seem, would take up the mantle for a person like Megan Rapinoe if she were really being treated unfairly, wouldn't it?
We at Liberty Guard, what we stand up for, as you indicated, is liberty. We've taken on the federal government. We've taken on Hillary Clinton. We've taken on a number of individuals and entities who try and constrain or take away liberty. And if Ms. Rapinoe presented a case to us that really substantively showed that her liberty was being infringed, we would be more than happy to consider helping her.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And since you wrote this article, I can see that that's not the case. You don't think she has a leg to stand on here in her pursuit of what she is terming equality. We have to go to a short break now. We're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn America, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. And we can also be seen on the AUN TV network in Northern California. We'll be right back with our guest, Congressman Bob Barr, talking about Megan Rapinoe and the soccer team and their demands, I suppose, with our co-host Rick Trader, and I'm Sharron Engel.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
And thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. Want to give a shout out to the folks who are listening to us on radio stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Long Beach, California, and now in Arlington, Virginia, and Washington, D.C., as well as being seen on the AUN television network in places like San Francisco, San Rafael, Orange County, Marin County, and in places in California. Our guest this segment is Congressman Bob Barr. He served Georgia's 7th District in the House of Representatives, and he's written a great article, Professional Whiners Have a New Hero du Jour in Megan Rapinoe. Congressman, thank you for holding through that break. We appreciate your time.
More than happy to share it with you and your many, many viewers and listeners.
Congressman, I think you were a little unfair to the tennis player, John McEnroe. I mean, when he whined to a referee. He didn't whine to a country, nor did he disrespect the flag. But I can remember in 1968 when John Carlos and Tommy Smith, after winning gold medals at the Olympics, held up their fists in defiance, and for that, had their gold medals and had their Olympic medals removed from them. Boy, things have changed, haven't they, Congressman? From that time to the time where people like Megan Rapinoe are being lionized. Where's our country going?
It's going in the wrong direction by all these accounts, certainly. I, too, remember I was in college at USC at the time of the 1968 Olympics, and I remember vividly those two disgraceful men holding their fists up in defiance of the U.S. national anthem and flag as it was played. It's one thing if an athlete is playing his or her own and they decide to use that forum for a political purpose, but it's entirely inappropriate to do so when they are being provided a forum by the United States of America, whether it's the Olympics or to represent our country in the soccer arena. But you're absolutely correct, Rick, that things have changed dramatically. At least back in 1968, these men were by and large shamed and their rewards were taken from them, the gold medals, although I suspect that there probably will be a move, if not already underway, to give them back. But nowadays, you're right. These people are made heroes when they step on the flag or when they use profanity to describe the President of the United States, or when they, a member of Congress, Tlaib, when I think it may have even been before she was sworn in to represent her district in the Congress, used the most disgraceful profanity in referring to the President of the United States. I never want to lose hope. I always want to be optimistic, but it's getting harder and harder to be optimistic that we will regain some sense of decency and patriotism throughout our country.
Well, Congressman, there seems to be this thing in this country. You get up on, like this Megan Rapinoe did, when the soccer team came back to the United States, that she went to New York and a couple other places. She went up on stage and kept yelling, F this, F that, effing White House and whatever. People like that, people like Jason Kelce from the Super Bowl winning Philadelphia Eagles, getting up on stage and dropping the F-bomb. There was a Philadelphia Phillies player who dropped the F-bomb during a World Series celebration. Congressman, again, I got to ask you this question. Why are these people such heroes now? Because they have foul mouths.
They're heroes not only because they have foul mouths, but because they personify the new left, which stands for the proposition that there are no standards. If you set standards to the new left, that means you are saying impliedly, if not explicitly, that some things are better than others. Certain words are better than others. Certain words are worse than others. Certain people are better than others. So in the new left world, there can be no standards for anything because that implies classicism, which is verboten to the new left.
Congressman Bob Barr, I can remember many, many years ago, there was a baseball game and a spectator ran out onto the field and tried to burn an American flag. A baseball player come and rescued that flag from that terrible act. That player became a hero. No one knows what became of the player who intended to burn the flag. But here, after winning the soccer championship, Megan Rapinoe didn't carry the flag on her back like a lot of our athletes did. Instead, she stepped on it. Do you think that she should be punished for her act? instead of rewarded and lionized for it?
She certainly should be. I don't think she should be punished criminally for it, but certainly she should be punished in terms of not being rewarded for that kind of behavior. I think that having the mayor of New York, who's kind of a strange person to begin with, but having the mayor of New York lionize her, as you say, and say these wonderful things about her, and having Chuck Schumer say these wonderful things about her, really is in itself inappropriate for public officials, again, who represent the United States of America or who represent the people of New York, which last I heard is part of the United States of America, to be glorifying people and acts that despicably denigrate the United States of America is something that all of us, and I'm glad you're bringing it up on your program here, and I hope your colleagues doing other programs, we need to be talking about these things. And we need to be doing what we can to ensure that our side is heard, America's side is heard, that we do believe in America and having standards of professionalism, of education, of public service, and yes, even of speech.
Congressman, you served in Congress during the term of Bill Clinton. Did you ever sit down or did you ever have a conversation with Bill Clinton, who is obviously on the other side of the aisle?
Talk about Bill Clinton. One thing that's interesting is how far the Democratic Party has swung to the left since Bill Clinton was president one generation ago. I remember listening, I think it may have been in a State of the Union address that he gave, talking about the need to protect our borders, the need to arrest illegal immigrants. He actually, I think, used the term illegal immigrants. And nowadays, the left, they can't even allow people to use those terms. They believe in completely open borders. I had a meeting early on in my congressional career with Bill Clinton, and I have to tell you that he is one of the most personable people I'd ever met. Very, very personable, very charismatic, but clearly had a couple of blind spots in his character.
Oh, what I was getting at, Congressman, this give you an opportunity to express your views and opinions to the president. As much as I disagreed with one Barack Obama, I would love to have had a beer summit with him where I could sit down with the man and discuss my thoughts, my fears, what I thought of the country, what I thought of the right and wrong track of the country goes. And for people like Megan Rapinoe or Colin Kaepernick or any of these others to pass up that opportunity, they're crazy, Congressman. They're absolutely crazy. Am I thinking outside the box when I talk like that?
You're thinking within the parameters of traditional American culture and society. Part of what I think we also see with these new leftists and these new whiners is their perspective. Their perspective is very, very short. They don't seem to have any concern or understanding of the long term. It's simply, well, what can I do today or between now and my next media appearance? If they actually thought through over the long term and thought, well, I want to, if I can use this forum to accomplish something else and then talk with somebody else and work my way up, I can really accomplish something. But in addition to now the left having utterly no standards for anything, their time frame has been completely compacted so that they only think in day-to-day, basically.
All right. Congressman Bob Barr, we want to thank you so much for joining us here on the Conservative Commandos radio show. Please tell our audience how they could find out more about Liberty Guard and Liberty Strategies, and also to read your articles and follow what you're doing.
Thank you again. They can, anybody who would like to learn more about me and follow some of the work that I'm doing can go either to my website, bobbarr.org. They can go to the Law Enforcement Education Foundation, Law EEF. They can go to Liberty Guard's website, in which we post articles that I write and tell people some of the projects in which we're involved in behalf of liberty.
Congressman Bob Barr, again, thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless.
Thank you all. Great being with you.
And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. Don't go away. We'll be right back with our next guest right after this break.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Allegations of voter fraud, the claims raising questions about the
Commerce Secretary Ron Brown and 32 others were on a military plane that crashed today in a violent storm. There are no known survivors at this time.
The U.S. Army was funded by the evil entity.
Saw voter fraud with my own eyes.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
The process is rigged.
So it's incredibly important now that we draw a line and say, not on our watch.
And thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. Once again, a reminder for rebroadcast, check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. You'll find our TV show, our radio show, a lot of terrific articles, and a lot of great information. And with that, Sharron, our next guest is with us. Once again, the honor of the introduction is all yours.
It is a great pleasure for me to introduce Andrew Harrod, who is a Campus Watch Fellow, a freelance researcher, and a writer who holds a PhD from the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy and a JD from George Washington University Law School. He is a fellow with the Lawfare Project. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show, Andrew.
Oh, it's always great to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Well, we're so glad. You wrote an article. Noura Erakat recounts her anxiety over Israel's existence. Wow. I guess we have to go into first who Noura Erakat is and why would she even question the existence of Israel, let alone have anxiety over it?
Well, Noura Erakat is a professor recently at George Mason University, and now she's just transferring to Rutgers University. She's the niece of Saeb Erakat, who's a Palestinian Authority negotiator. So she's very prominent within the Palestinian community. And her anxieties about Israel's existence stem precisely from really a continuing rejectionism among the Palestinian community of the existence of a Jewish state of Israel, as she goes into detail in her recent book tour that she's held events at Busboys and Poets here in Washington, D.C., as well as the Middle East Institute. She's hawking her new book, Justice for Some, on the history of international law and the Palestinian struggle against Israel. And yeah, so she's really expressing strident anti-Israeli views, showing how many Palestinians still seek the destruction of Israel.
Well, it looks like it's all about selling books to me. Now, now I get it. She's pandering to her audience a bit, isn't she?
Oh, it's really strident. There's really no basis for peace if you look at a person like Nora Ericott and assume that her views are not just held by her, but across broad swaths of the Palestinian community. If you think that her uncle Saeb Ericott holds any such views, there's any such peace process with the Palestinian Authority and the wider Palestinian population that has groups like Hamas and as well jihadist terrorists is simply stillborn. It's going nowhere. She really expresses quite clearly that she views Israel as merely this colonialist implant equivalent to, say, white settlers in South Africa and the apartheid regime there in the past, or French colonial settlers in Algeria. And so therefore some great injustice that has to be undone.
Well, I like what you said. It's this hard left echo chamber. Don't they get it that most of us out here in the heartland really are very pro-Israel? We like Benjamin Netanyahu. We are very happy with our president recognizing Jerusalem as the capital. They really don't get it, do they?
Well, you ought to take a visit inside the Beltway here in the Washington, D.C. area to Planet Washington. As the article indicates, one of her most recent events that Ericott held was at this chain of cafes, busboys and poets here in Washington, D.C., founded by this Arab-American Andy Shalal, another hard-left person. And indeed, the events room where she held her book talk at Busboys and Poets was precisely named the Angela Davis Room, as Andy Shalal noted, named after this hard-core communist Israel hater, Angela Davis. And Ericott gushed about how she was among such friends in the community at Busboys and Poets. So it's a quite dramatic contrast from wider America. You need to come visit Washington, D.C. once in a while.
Maybe not.
Well, I get there once a year, and I'm startled by it, I guess. It's amazing. It's almost like going to another country. The interesting part about this is that they've just uncovered some facts about the Palestinians, which is that they are descendants from the Philistines. Philistines, like we know from the Bible, are Goliath and his 5 brothers, and they had 5 cities. But the real truth of the matter is that these Philistines came from Europe, so they were Western European invaders. They really are kind of out of their element there, claiming that they have any roots in that area. But she is so thoroughly brainwashed with this this idea that they belong there, that she says, that's why I went to law school. I wanted to sue Israeli officials. Wow, what an agenda.
Well, indeed, she talks about her law school training at the University of California, where she attained both her undergraduate and law degrees. And in the article notes, she talks about the law is not neutral and you have to use it for your purposes. And indeed, her grand ambition was to get a legal training so she could sue Israeli officials. And as you indicated, in the name of this Palestinian population, the name Palestine comes from the Romans. When they occupied the area in 135, they crushed the final Jewish revolt in the area, and as a sort of a snub to the Jews, they named the area Palestine precisely after these Philistines, whom later research has indicated probably have their origins among, say, Europe, the Greek Isles, I believe. So it was indeed intended as an insult to the Jews to name this territory Palestinians, and then later the population there, the various peoples there were Arabized and Islamicized in the 7th century Arab Islamic invasions of the region. So, not much indigenous nature there to this Arab population in the region. So you should watch out for her agenda whenever she talks about law. It's not a nonpartisan agenda.
Well, and I wonder how far she thinks she can get with an American law degree in an Israeli country suing Israeli officials. Do they even recognize our law degrees over there, or don't they have attorneys of their own?
Well, now this would be an important point. She's not seeking to sue in Israeli courts. This deals with this whole issue of internationalizing law. Suing Israel at the International Criminal Court, or trying to bring Israeli officials under suit as they've attempted here in American courts under international application of tort laws. So that would be the danger there, and to not to try to strip Israeli officials of their sovereign immunity. So that would be her agenda to push, to try to get Israelis in courts outside of Israel.
Wow. Well, that's not all that she wants to do with Israelis. This is so interesting. She says that she thinks that Arabs could help indigenize Israeli Jews into the Middle East and rehabilitate their relationships within a unitary Arab-Muslim majority. What does that mean?
Well, this is welcome to Planet Washington again. I mean, this is another one of her sort of a lunatic thesis. Again, this idea she has that Arabs and Palestinians are the truly indigenous people in the region. And she talks about Jews then being this foreign implant, and that they came to found Israel as just sort of a white European outpost, and they never want to have anything to do with the Middle East, and so they need to be re-indigenized by these Arabs. Now, it's really a grievous distortion of Zionism and Jews and the re-establishment of the Israeli state. Jews, of course, this is their homeland, and Jews come from, many different places. Ashkenazi Jews from Europe, Mizrahi Jews from the Middle East area, North Africa, and from many different diasporas, different cultures. It's wrong to say that they're just European. I mean, Israel's often talked about as a Western outpost in the sense that it's a free society. It embraces precisely these Judeo-Christian Western ideas and institutions of a free society. I'm not sure, though, that Jews would want to be re-indigenized into the Middle East by, say, becoming another Arab dictatorship or having more religious fanaticism or genocide or sectarianism or something like that. I'm sure the Jews would gladly reject all of that if that's what it means to become Middle Eastern.
Well, some of her terms are just amazing. So that Jews could become more white, really, and pink washing and homo-nationalism. I'm going to let Rick pick up this conversation because these are just amazing terms that she's come up with. We're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. And now you can watch our TV show on the AUN TV network in Northern California. We will continue this conversation with our guest, Andrew Harrod, of the Lawfare Project, and his discussion of Noura Erakat, who recounts her anxiety over Israel's existence. We'll be right back with Rick Trader, that's him, and I'm Sharron Angle.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. prices. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
And once again, we're very pleased you stay with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host today is Sharron Angle, and our guest is Andrew Harrod, who is a Campus Watch Fellow, a freelance researcher, and a writer who owns a PhD from the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy at George Washington University. Andrew, thank you for holding through that break. We really appreciate your time.
Well, it's good.
This lady, Nora Arakat, she's written this book, and she had this meeting. I guess it's almost like book TV, and they're at the DC Busboys and Poets. She had a crowd of 100 people there. Andrew, could you tell us something about the people who were in the audience that day?
Well, befitting, as we previously discussed, the Angela Davis events room of this communist Israel hater at Busboys and Poets, their K Street location. They have several locations here in D.C. You had Code Pink founder Media Benjamin was there, and various other people from the whole sort of anti-Israel scene here in Washington, D.C., like James Kobe, who's been involved in, he was actually part of the organization that won the Nobel Prize for the international ban of landmines. But here in D.C. is a doctor and orthopedist who's been very involved in promoting boycott, divestment, and sanctions against Israel through the Episcopal Church, the Episcopal Diocese here in town. So it was very much a home turf for Nora Arakat.
Yeah, well, she made some very interesting comments that, at this meeting. She is quoted as saying, "There was just a red target on my head from a missile that followed me everywhere as I was running through Gaza."
Yes, she described her nightmares that she had. She said, yes, This work gave me nightmares. And so she discussed how she would dream about she's running through Gaza and there's this red laser target on her head as a missile is just following her through the streets that apparently the Israelis want to assassinate her, something she's thinking about, and they have a missile that's just going to follow her from street to street and curve to curve. That's precision targeting for you, I guess. Of course, she never really mentioned any anxieties of people that in Israel might have from all of the rocket barrages being fired off by Hamas or terrorists coming out of terror tunnels from the Gaza Strip. So it's a rather one-sided anxiety there.
Right. Well, you know what scares me, Andrew? This woman, we hear what's going on college campuses. We hear about the radical ideas that are being pumped into kids' heads. Scary part is, here's a woman who's a college professor,
right?
Who's now coming to Rutgers University. I mean, what do you think she's telling her students?
It's going to. If you thought Busboys and Poets was bad, it's going to be even worse at the university. And indeed, at Rutgers, she's joining this other professor, trying to remember her name, from an Indian descent, Pool Beer, I think is their name, who's actually in the past argued that Israelis engage in organ harvesting of Palestinians, so a new blood libel against Jews. So she'll fit right in at Rutgers, I guess.
Sure, let's spend $20,000 a year to send our kids there, right? She also bragged about being among the founders of an anti-Semitic Students for Justice in Palestine. You know, Andrew, if I was, let's say, the founder of anti-Arab Students for Justice for Israel, how would I be condemned? And why isn't she being condemned?
Well, I guess this is sort of the bias again that a person like Noor Erekat can take a leading role in founding Students for Justice in Palestine, SJP, which now across campuses in America is a big backer of all these Israel apartheid weeks and has been known for having all sorts of extremist members and speakers, anti-Semitic, pro-jihad, and has been involved with a harassment of Jewish students on campus. But of course, if you were to ever alternatively criticize, say, Islam or jihadist Arab threats against Israel, you face all sorts of condemnation for being Islamophobic or so forth, and yet such things like Students for Justice from Palestine seem to just get kind of swept under a media rug. There's not much attention paid there.
Right. And she also talked about Ilhan Omar. Whitewash her anti-Semitism with an appeal to radical and religious victimhood.
Yeah, that's a line that many people in the Democratic Party and elsewhere are putting out now, that the criticisms of Ilhan Omar are merely because she's black, she's a Somali American, she wears a hijab, she's Muslim, so you're just bigoted. So playing all these race, religion cards about it's just prejudice against her, and there's no valid criticism of her anti-Semitism, and talking about American policy being ruled by Jewish money or Israel's evil influence throughout the world, hypnotizing the world. So it's really absurd.
Well, and you and Sharron talked about this. How do you say this in your article? The whitewashing so Jews could become white. She repeated her thesis that Arabs could help indigenize Israeli Jews into the Middle East and rehabilitate that relationship. You talked about that, but how do you think that this would actually work, Andrew? I mean, you think they'd be treated fairly? And again, if I tried to homogenize or rehabilitate people from other parts of the world who are coming into this country, I think I'd be hung. Andrew, don't you?
Well, the key theme that she always takes up is this idea that of the Mizrahi Jews, the Jews who come from the diaspora in the Middle East and North Africa, majority of Muslim countries, that they should be a return to their, as she sees it, Arab roots. She always refers to them as Arab Jews and says that ideas that they're calling them Mizrahi Jews is wrong. And so, which is an identity that Mizrahi Jews in Israel themselves reject. They actually have very bitter memories of living in Muslim majority countries, and so they're not pleased at all about any idea that they would live in a Muslim majority unitary Palestinian state with a Muslim Arab majority. And in their voting patterns, the Mizrahi Jews in Israel are precisely much more conservative. They're precisely known for taking very hard lines on Israeli security positions, precisely because of their history of living in the Middle East.
Again, Andrew and Sharron, I'm very, very disturbed by the fact that, number one, she's given a forum. Number two, she puts out this book. Number three, and probably, as I mentioned, more frightening to me, is that she's a college professor, that she's going to go to Rutgers University now. Andrew, how and why do these people get any kind of credibility?
Well, this is the corruption of modern.
Part.
Yeah, this is the corruption of modern academia, modern Middle East studies, and indeed, this is your tax dollars at work at universities like Rutgers in New Jersey or University of California. So I think it's time for people like you out in the heartland to pay more attention, to really scrutinize academia with organizations like Campus Watch at the Middle East Forum, and really critique just what all these ivory tower academics are saying.
You know, for people who live in New Jersey, Andrew, who are thinking about sending their sons and daughters to a Rutgers University, I would have some real concerns. What could they do? Could they approach the dean of the college or the dean of Rutgers University and say, why and how, for what reason are you hiring somebody like this? Somebody who's obviously racist in as much as she hates Jews. She thinks that Jews should be eradicated. And when you try to homogenize them into society with the rest of the middle, you're trying to eradicate them. That's much like what Adolf Hitler tried to do. I mean, I find this disturbing, Andrew. Am I going too far with my righteous indignation?
Well, the fate for Jews is any realistic assessment of our proposals would mean that Jews would probably wind up in a situation worse than Lebanon and say its Christian population. It would just any attempt to try to have a single Muslim majority, Arab majority Palestinian state with Jews as a minority in it. It would just turn into chaos and fighting and would really wreck any stability, any security that Jews would have in that society. They would end up fleeing again or being massacred. So precisely for such troubling implications, Jews think this is idiotic. I mean, anyone who realistically praises the Middle East thinks this is nuts. So I think at a place like Rutgers University, well, one, you should probably tell your kids if they're going there, don't take our classes. I mean, boycott our classes, just stay away, because you're just going to get pumped full of a lot of propaganda. I mean, anyone who's going to want to attend this class is probably going to be an ideologue from the outset, so it's just going to be preaching to the converted and to the choir. So you're probably better off spending your tuition dollars on some other professor in some other course.
You're right. Andrew Harrod, we want to thank you so much for joining us here on the Conservative Commandos radio show. Andrew, please tell our audience how they could follow your work and read your writings.
Well, you can follow me on Twitter or on Facebook. My name is Andrew Harrod, like the department store in London, Harrod. Also at the Middle East Forum, there's much of my work. I'm also a contributor to Robert Spencer's Jihad Watch, so you can see a lot of articles there. I'm around at the Daily Caller, Breitbart, American Spectator, Allgemeiner, American Thinker, many other outlets, but those are key places you can find me.
Again, Andrew Harrod, thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless.
Always great to be here. Thank you very much.
This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. She's Sharron Engel. Yes, that's Sharron Engel. Don't go away. Sharron and I will be back with more right after this break.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Well, once again, Sharron, it is that time. It is that time to thank you for being my co-host today. It's been my pleasure and honor. Sharron, where can our viewers and listeners find out what you're doing when you're not here at Conservative Commandos?
Well, they can always go to my website, SharronAngle.com. SharronAngle.com. And I'd like to thank our great guests today. We had Stephen Beale, who talked to us about social media and their prejudices. We already knew that, just more of the same. We love having Congressman Bob Barr on, and of course he just outed the Whiners in that whole soccer match debacle. And finally, Andrew Harrod, who is with the Lawfare Project, and talk to us about anti-Semitism at its rawest. I am just amazed. It's funny when you talk about it, but it's not funny when you realize the realities are there.
All right. You know, Sharron, this soccer with the Women's World Cup soccer team, I keep saying this should have been a great moment for America. Here, the women's soccer team win the World Cup on the 4th of July weekend. It should have been full of pomp and circumstance and celebration. And instead, these women decided to make it something very ugly indeed. Yeah. But for right now, we are out of time. We got to run. We got to go. Take care. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow on TV and on radio.